In this lesson, we're going to look at long-term storage devices. We'll cover 5 devices: hard disk drives, solid-state drives, flash memory devices, non-volatile memory express, and optical disks. Let's start with hard disk drives. This is what the inside of one looks like. The hard disk drive is composed of many different platters, aluminum disc coated with magnetic material that's magnetized and demagnetized to encode binary data. Over here, we have our read-write heads. These heads read and write information to and from the platter's surface. Data is stored on both sides of the platter, so there's a head on the bottom and top of each disk. The heads are connected to this armature, which has an electric motor that moves the heads in and out so they can access every part of the disk. These platters spin at a very high speed. As they spin, a little cushion of air is created on the surface of the disk, which keeps the heads from writing right on top of the platter. This is called the Bernoulli effect. If you were to look at the platter edge straight on, you would see that there's just a tiny little cushion of air between the surface of the platter and the surface of the head. It's still close enough that the magnetism in the head can magnetize or demagnetize a certain area of the hard disk drive to create zeros and ones, but the heads don't actually touch the surface of the platter. PC systems generally use hard disk drives for long-term storage because they're fast and they can store huge amounts of information. Hard disks work with integrated drive electronics, or IDE, an electronic interface that allows communication between a motherboard's data paths, or bus, and a computer's hard disks. Data is accessed in a random order, meaning that the individual blocks of data can be stored or retrieved in any order. And HDDs are a type of non-volatile memory, so they retain stored data when powered off. Inexpensive hard disk drives spin at about 5,400 revolutions per minute, or RPMs. A good quality hard disk drive spins at about 7,200 RPMs. High-end drives spin at 10,000 to 15,000 RPMs. The higher the revolution per minute, the faster you can access your data. Hard disk drives do have a few disadvantages. The biggest issue is that they're not very portable. A hard disk drive has to be installed inside of the computer, so it can be time-consuming to take it out and move it to another computer. There are portable hard disk drives that have a USB interface, which lets you unplug the drive from a USB port on one system and plug it into a USB port on another system, and then the information from the drive is immediately available. But they're still large enough that they're an awkward portable storage device. Now let's move on to solid-state drives, a competitor with hard disk drives. Solid-state drives are another type of long-term storage device, but they use flash memory instead of platters. Solid-state drives are designed to replace a standard hard disk drive. A video editing workstation might use a solid-state drive because it can read and write information faster than a standard hard disk drive. Solid-state hard drives are also found in smartphones, laptops, cameras, watches, and fitness trackers. They're smaller and lighter than a hard disk drive. And because they don't have any mechanical parts, they don't create as much heat or consume as much energy, and they're more reliable. But they're more expensive and generally have a smaller storage capacity. M.2 is a popular solid-state drive. M.2 used to be called Next Generation Form Factor, or NGFF. It's for internally mounted expansion cards. It replaced the mSATA standard, which used the PCI Express mini card. M.2 is useful because it allows different module widths and lengths. It's often used for solid-state storage in ultrabooks and tablets. It supports Legacy Advanced Host Controller Interface, or AHCI, and NVMe Express, NVMe, a technology we'll talk about in just a minute. M.2 drives feature PCI Express 3.0, Serial ATA or SATA 3.0, and USB 3.0 ports, and they're backwards compatible with USB 2.0. They can integrate with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, satellite navigation, near-field communication, digital radio, wireless gigabit alliance, WiGig, wireless WAN, and other solid-state drives. One more memory device you'll encounter in PCs is NVMe Express or NVMe. It's sometimes called Non-Volatile Memory Host Controller Interface Specification, or NVMe HCIS. It's made for accessing non-volatile storage media through a PCI Express bus. NVMe Express is designed to work well with the low latency and internal parallelism of solid-state storage devices. By allowing host hardware and software to utilize the level of parallelism possible in modern SSDs, NVMe Express reduces I/O overhead and improves functionality. NVMe Express devices come in 3 forms. The most common are standard-sized PCI Express expansion cards and 2.5-inch form factor devices that provide a 4-lane PCI Express interface through the U.2 connector. There are also storage devices that use SATA Express and the M.2 specification and support NVMe Express as the logical device interface. There are other types of long-term storage devices that are more portable. These devices use flash memory. This is a flash drive, sometimes called a thumb drive. If you opened up this device, you would see rows of memory chips. The memory chips inside of a flash device are different from the memory chips used inside your system RAM because they're programmable. You can write information to the memory locations in the memory chips and then remove power from these chips, and the memory will remain intact. You can't do that with the standard dynamic RAM used on a system memory board. Because of this, you can take a flash memory device, plug it into the appropriate port on a PC, and have it function like a standard hard disk drive. You can store, read, and format data just like a regular hard disk drive, but you're writing and rewriting data to a location on a memory chip instead of a spinning platter. This particular flash drive uses a USB interface, so all I have to do is unplug the flash drive from one USB port and plug it into another USB port on another system, and I've got access to all my data. Flash memory is also used in digital cameras, smartphones, and digital camcorders. The SDHC memory cards often used in cameras are flash devices. If you have a card reader installed in your PC or laptop, you can remove the memory card from the digital camera, put it in the card reader in your machine, and use it just like a hard disk drive or thumb drive. Flash devices are relatively fast. They can read and write information as fast as a standard hard disk drive. Flash devices also provide a lot of storage space in a very small physical device. You can buy a flash storage as small as 4 gigabytes and as large as 2 terabytes. Now let's look at optical discs as long-term storage. Optical drives are for CDs, DVDs, and Blu-ray discs, and you'll find one on most PC systems. They're called optical drives because they don't use magnetism to encode binary data. They use light. If you look at the bottom of an optical disc, you will see a rainbow effect as the light hits it. That rainbow effect is caused by the encoding on the bottom of the disc that stores data in binary. Using an optical disc to store data has many advantages. First of all, optical discs are very portable and they have good storage capacity. A single-layer DVD will hold 4.7 gigabytes of information. A double-layer DVD will hold twice that amount, and high-definition DVDs holding between 15 and 30 gigabytes of data. In addition, a single-layer Blu-ray disc can hold up to 25 gigabytes of data, while a dual-layer Blu-ray disc can hold between 50 and 128 gigabytes of data. Optical discs are great for the long-term storage of read-only data. For example, if you have a large bunch of files that you've been working on, and you want to make a backup so that you can retrieve them later, an optical disc is a great way to store your files. Unfortunately, optical discs are susceptible to damage. Normal wear and tear can scratch up the surface of the disc, making your data unreadable. For that reason, many people are beginning to prefer flash drives or cloud storage to optical discs. At this point, you might be asking which type of long-term storage is best. My answer is, it depends on what you want to do. If you want a quick access to a large amount of data, then you should probably look at a hard disk drive or a solid-state drive. If you need information to be portable so you can move it from one system to another, then you should look at the flash drive or a rewritable optical disc.